Sachiko Cohen did exactly what so many private practice therapists do when they are trying to decide how much to charge for services. She went onto Psychology Today, scanned for what people were charging, and she actually says she scrolled to see what the lowest rates people were charging and tried to set her fee from there. Tune in for this episode where we talk about how she overcame looking at that as the barometer for how much she should charge, how she came into an abundance mindset after seeing somebody else in her niche, and learn what she does now for a living. Welcome to Mind, Money, Balance. I'm Lindsay, a popcorn lover, woman of color, and financial therapist and coach. This is the No Guilt, No Shame podcast to help you stand in your financial power. Let's go. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on today, Sachiko. This is going to be so fun. So we were talking offline before I hit record on the Mind, Money, Balance podcast, just about therapists and their money stories. So before we dive into that, why don't you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, what you do for work, what's your niche? Give us the details.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to share my story. So my name is Sachiko Cohen. I'm actually a therapist turned coach. So right now I coach therapists to gain freedom and start business being a coach or expand their practice or their career into coaching.
Awesome. And tell me how you landed there, how you went from therapy to coaching. What was that journey like?
Yeah, it's a long journey.
Okay. we'll do the condensed version one.
Okay, the quick version. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been licensed as a marriage and family therapist since 2005, so 15 years. And I kind of went through this very traditional route of, going to getting master's degree, getting internships and, committing mental health and earning hours, getting licensed. And then I started private practice while I was still working at an agency. And that was a journey by itself because I had no idea what business is like owning a business. But that's what I thought that everybody does, right? As you become a therapist and it's like you have this dream of having your own office and your own practice and helping a lot of people. So that's what I did. And I think we can go into more, details later, but I burned out from doing that because I had evening clients and I had Saturdays and I think I had a few clients on Sundays even. So I burnt myself out and I quit. I was and I was pregnant at that time. So I'm going to just focus on my family and I'm going to go back to agency work or, I never quit my agency work. So I went back to this kind of secure path of financial security of having full-time job was was the way for me at that time. I thought, with new kid come in. And then a few years later, I've been kind of climbing up the ladder in an agency. And I felt like I made it. I have 2 children right now and I have, family. I have decent job. I'm getting paid and I'm secure. I'm stable. I made it. Actually, I came to this country when I was 18 by myself. So it was an accomplishment for me. And I was like, okay, this is good. And that's when everything kind of suddenly fell apart. When I got a call from Japan. That's where I'm from. And my family told me that my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And it was a rare form of cancer. It's very late stage. She wouldn't have much time left. And at that moment, I couldn't just drop everything and go be with her because of all the responsibilities I had here and all the limited mindset too about security and my job. And, what if I leave and I cannot come back and have the financial security? So that moment when, so I did spend only maybe a week or two with her before she passed away. And that was the worst time of my life, I think, like really hit me hard. It actually took me into depression afterwards and grief and all that. But really, the learning from that was, oh my gosh, I thought I made it, or I thought I had a secure life. But if I can't be with someone I love at the end of that person's life as much as I want, what good is it? So I started kind of questioning, maybe there's more, there's more to it. And, so that's when kind of like woke up and started looking for freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, and also like opportunities to make more money and opportunities to have more freedom in time so I can spend more time with my family, because I think my priority shifted.
Yeah, how could they not shift?
Yeah. So since then, I've been on a journey of really developing my own money mindset and CEO mindset so that now I own a business, coaching business, but really working on that to really create freedom. And that's what I help my clients do as well. And I love what I do because I get to help a lot of therapists do the same.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So thank you so much for sharing that story and for being so open and transparent about the different things that impacted you to pivot into coaching. And it's so often that whether we're therapists or whether we're business owners who aren't therapists, but there are often those aha moments. It's something that has happened in our lives that kind of smacks us in the face and goes, oh my gosh, we have to do something about it. So something I heard in your narrative as you were going through was climbing the ladder and working really hard and I have it made. So did those money stories kind of show up when you were pivoting from therapy to coaching, this idea of having to hold on tight to something and this idea of a secure job? Or maybe I'm totally off base, but I'm curious how your money stories showed up and which ones you had to work through as you transitioned into your new role.
Yeah, definitely. All that I carried with me. I didn't know at the time that that was, impacting my every decision I make, right, in my business. And I think as a therapist, often we kind of go through, like, we know what's next, like what next steps are. Like, once you finish your school, then you are supposed to get internships, and then you were supposed to get certain hours of experience, and you're supposed to sit in an exam. And I think that the steps are laid out for us. And for me especially, I used to be a rule follower. Like I just like, okay, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm just gonna do what I'm told to do, or like get to next step, so that like yay. And I think that's how I felt when I felt I made it, because I did take those ladders or steps to get to where I wanted to be. But I had to work with that mindset, because then in coaching and also, owning a business, like you have to make your own decisions, and you have to be okay with, like, for example, even the fee, your rate, you really, like, it's your decision. No one will tell you how much to charge. And how do you own that fee? Like, because a lot of people say, oh, I worth more than that. But I feel like the worth is like everybody, like we are worth, like as who we are, we worth 100%. So the hourly rate doesn't really reflect on your worth. So how do I then decide on how much to charge? And And at first, I was just looking around like Psychology Today. What is everybody charging? And right. And I think there are some regulations around that too, depending on your license. So, but even that, I had to really own it and understand the value that I'm providing. So, like, as a private practitioner, I was charging 150 per hour. Even to get to that point, I was like very nervous. Like, am I worth this much? Like, who am I to charge this much per hour? But that mindset really shifted now that I am like giving 10 times, 100 times value than what I charge, because the outcome my clients get is way more than what I charge. And when you think, like, when you are able to believe the value and quality of your own service, it's like it becomes almost like natural, almost in alignment with the price. And I think when I wasn't, I couldn't sell. I couldn't get clients because I was nervous about it. I was not confident about it. And even though it said whatever the amount on a website or Psychology Today or something, I couldn't, really sell.
Okay. So you said so many things there, but I want to point out two things that you said that one, I want to dig into more, and then one I want to just kind of suss out. So this is the idea you're touching on. We as humans cannot charge what we are worth because our worth is really infinite. We don't have a price tag, right? So that message of charge your worth, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other because we can't put a price tag on our worth. So I love how you said, charge what the value of the work that I provide is, charge for the outcome that I will help you get. And those things still might be a little bit nebulous, but they're much more tangible than charge your worth. So thank you for pointing that out. That's huge, huge, huge. And I talk about that a lot, how we have to separate those two. And then the other thing was something that I want to dig into a little bit more, which was when you were in private practice as a therapist and you said, I set my rate by looking around on Psychology Today, picking a number, and eventually I made it to 150 per hour. Talk me through how you ended up getting to 150, because for some people, they're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money for an hourly rate. And for other people who are like, on the East Coast or West Coast, they're like, you were only charging 150. So talk us through that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for really articulating about that worth thing too. I really, feel strongly about that. And that was the mind drama I had at the time. Like, how do I even know my worth? What is the right worth? So that was the struggle. But my journey of, my private practice 150 per hour. For the record, I live in the LA area. So it is.
So it is low.
And how I got, so it was even lower when I first started because I didn't know. I think what I did was looking around everybody, and I'm just starting out, even though I had many years of clinical experience, but I was a newbie as a private practice.
Okay, I have to pause you there because that's another thing that us therapists get into. They go, I'm a newbie. Well, actually, I'm not, because I've got 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hours. I'm not actually new and I'm starting in private practice. So I just wanted to point that out. I'll let you continue, Sachiko.
So it's so interesting how our mind works, right? So then, like I'm comparing to everybody and then looking at lowest or lower rates in the same area and thinking like, okay, I need to go even lower so that they will pick me between this person and me, because so I think it is really literally like race to the bottom, or how do you call it? Like really my mindset was that I believe that clients will choose me based on the fee. And now I know that that's not true. But when I first started, and that's how I thought I should be. And how it changed was really, I think it has to do with niching down too. So when I first started, I was just general practitioner and I didn't have any niche. And I picked office that was available near me. And I didn't know how to kind of target my niche or market. And I struggled for a couple of years and realized that a lot of people who come to me were actually Japanese who either speak Japanese or both Japanese and English, but want to connect with therapists who understand the culture. So I decided to actually move my office 30 miles away, which is in the middle of Japanese community. It took me a while to decide that because I'm thinking like every day I have clients, I have to drive from my work to my office, and then like that's a lot, it's like 50 minutes drive. But I decided to do that, and in doing so I was doing research and who else is out there, Japanese therapists who is targeting Japanese clients. And they're not that many, but there was one person keep showing up everywhere. Like, back then, this is over 10 years ago. So there was not too much like social media thing, but everywhere on the internet, the same person came up, and looked like this. She is the expert in this niche. And my first reaction was like, oh, shoot, someone is already doing it.
Right? Yep, I guess I have to do something else. There's one Japanese therapist serving Japanese Americans, so I guess I'm out of luck.
Right. And that was like, oh, okay. Like she got every client in this, Southern California.
Yes.
That I don't have any room. No. And I really had to work on that mindset. Mm-hmm. And actually I reached out to her. Like, I'm like, if she is everywhere, she must know, what works. And I'm going to just reach out to her. So this is kind of like a tip for everybody too. Like, and she turns out really, really, really helpful and really nice. And we became friends and we've been friends ever since. But really, she was able to connect me with referral sources. She was able to kind of mentor me because at that point, she had been doing her private practice for many years, several years. So she really mentored me. And the one thing she said was, do not take insurance. And said this, like she told me how much she was charging at the time, and do it. Like I've been doing this for, I don't remember, maybe 5 years, and I was like, but I'm just starting out. And like, no, the clinical skills, clinical experience is the same because we were kind of like same years of, experience. And no, you can charge. And that's how I decided to charge $150.
Yeah. Oh, what a great story. Just the story of, abundance, right? There's more than enough to go around. One Japanese therapist in Southern LA or in LA doesn't mean that you have to like hang up your shingle and shut down your website. It's like, no, actually, if anything, it's proof that there are enough people out there that need this specific type of therapist. They want to go into somebody who isn't just culturally appropriate because they read a book about it, but they're actually Japanese, right? And there's so much value in that, right? So another worry so many therapists have when they don't take insurance, when they have what they perceive to be a high fee is like, how do you deal with pushback? So I would love to hear how you dealt with people saying 150 was too much. Did it ever happen? How did you deal with clients when they saw that number?
That's interesting because I don't remember anyone pushing back.
Okay. Yeah. I want to repeat that for everyone. Nobody ever pushed back, even though it took her years to get up to 150, still nobody cared. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
We could just wrap right now. Okay, done. Yeah. Okay. So going back to setting your fee, not taking insurance, niching down, what would have been really helpful to have had at that point in your private practice? Would it have been a tool? Would it have been a mindset? Would it have been mentoring? What would have been the most helpful thing that you didn't have that you wish you did?
Definitely mentoring. So this person I talked about, she was great, but it's not like my ongoing mentor that I can, connect with to get, like coach or mentor that gives me, because she became friend and I didn't want to burden her with all my questions all the time. So I think that the biggest thing I needed back then was really realize financial or any type of security or stability doesn't necessarily come from being an employee.
Mm, so good, right? If you're going to be working that hard, like you were saying, nights, weekends, mornings, all of that, then you'd better be taking home 100% of that. And I mean,
Yeah.
100% meaning you still have to pay taxes and pay your rent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're saying it made more sense for you to, you could see how it's much more sustainable to be your own boss than to be an employee.
Yeah, because my default was like, well, of course, my employer is giving me benefits and, insurance and all that stuff. And at that time, I couldn't really visualize me being a future fully booked and making maybe as much or even more money than, working at the agency or, being employed, plus having more freedom and flexibility, being your own boss. I couldn't quite picture it. So then I believe that, oh no, staying in a more safe, quote unquote, I'm air quoting, is a better choice, which
Yeah.
is,
Right.
I think,
Right.
default thinking that a lot of us have.
Yeah. And I think so many of us are sold that idea that the safe thing to do is, to your point earlier, go get a job, whatever your career is, make sure you get in enough hours, climb the ladder, make sure you stay late, get the promotion, and then you'll end up in the C-suite and life will be good. And what you're saying is, wow, I could bust my tail for 40 years and maybe make it out alive, or I could take a huge risk, or what felt like a huge risk, and not just go into private practice, but then also pivot into coaching and helping other people to take that leap, right? Love it. So before we wrap up, I have one final question, and it's hard for therapists, but maybe since you are wearing your coaching hat, you'll be able to do it no problem. And it's, what is your one favorite thing about being your own boss?
Oh, I think I will go with, there are so many things, but
I know it's so hard.
I will go with that being my own boss really almost like forces me, but I don't want to use that word because it's my choice, but to grow, like really consistently, constantly having breakthroughs and like working on my mindset, because at the beginning I was like, oh, this is so hard, but now I'm like, I'm in this, because there's always ups and downs. And when you're in the slump, or like, you're not feeling as motivated, or like a little disappointed, or beat down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you feel, all these different emotions, but or when, you will find out once you lean into those feelings and really learn from
Mm-hmm.
that moment, the other side of it is huge growth. Like, and not only my own growth, like my mindset and my own personal growth, but I see it, like literally I see it in my business. Like you can see it in the results in your business. And that's so rewarding, but also humbling, that I keep growing like forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
So
sounds like your favorite thing about being your own boss is the ability to constantly be doing self-development and self-growth.
yes.
Love
Yes.
it. Okay. So, Sachiko, where can everybody find you? What's your website? What social media places do you hang out? Where can everyone go?
Sure. My website is sachikocohen.com, SACHIKOCOHEN.com. And I usually, hang out on Facebook. So I have Facebook group called Therapist to Coach. And also I have a podcast called Therapist to Coach.
Great. Well, thank you. This was so helpful. And I just love having other people on with different perspectives and seeing how they are making things work. So thank you. Thank you again. And I will make sure to link to everything in the show notes. Hey, private practice owner, my friend Monica from Hold Space Creative and I have created a program. It is called Build a Profitable Practice from the Inside Out. And in this program, you'll go from stressed to sustained in just 8 short weeks. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You started out your private practice because you really wanted to make a difference. You chose being a business owner because you were sick of the bureaucracy, no-shows, and seeing clients that really weren't a good fit for your expertise. You had dreams of serving your ideal clients, working out of an office that was yours all day, that you didn't have to schlep around from one office to another every other day, and never again having to go to a boss who declined your vacation time request. So you did it. You made the leap. And as time goes on, you find yourself in an eerily familiar position. You are working long days, you're staring at the clock for the hour to be over, and worst of all, your bills are due. And somehow you feel like you're scrambling to make ends meet. Even when you first started out, you looked at the numbers and it looked like you were going to be doing pretty good. So it's possible to make a decent living as a therapist in private practice, but you can't quite figure out how to get there. You're not making enough to support the business in the long run, but raising your rates feels really uncomfortable. And the biggest question running through your mind is, how do I help people and increase my income? In this group coaching program, Build a Profitable Practice from the Inside Out, Monica and I will show you that you can be an amazing clinician, make good money, and best of all, rise above all of those money shame stories that have been given to you so that your private practice can thrive. In this supervision style group coaching program, I'll help you create a private practice that really feels abundant and supportive of your unique goals and your unique dreams. We will transform your mindset around money, and you'll walk away with tangible ways to build a profitable practice long after the group is done. And as a bonus, because Monica is a former art therapist turned website designer for therapists, you will also get a beautiful pre-designed website specifically made with your unique needs as a therapist in mind. Make sure you get in and apply today. Go to my website, mindmoneybalance.com/profitable practice. The group kicks off on September 14th, so we need all of our applications in by September 2nd. Again, that's mindmoneybalance.com/profitable practice, all one word. And I cannot wait to help you move from stressed to sustained. If you love this episode, take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram @MindMoneyBalance with your favorite takeaway. I love seeing what resonates with my listeners and sharing it in my stories. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week right here. Neither the host or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, medical, or other professional information. If you want professional help, please seek it out.